Good morning, and welcome to the Intellectual Property Management Seminar Series. Before we start, please let me explain how we will manage this meeting. BlueJeans works best in the Chrome browser, so if you've connected using another browser, you may want to exit and reconnect with Chrome. You should also disconnect from VPN. Please mute your camera and microphone during the presentation. Today's session is a mix of live and pre-recorded talks. Due to the makeup of the event, there won't be live Q&A, but attendees are invited to post questions in the chat or send an email to partners@anl.gov, and SNTPO or legal will respond in a timely manner with answers. Today's session is being recorded and may be made available for viewing after the meeting. By participating in today's session, participants consent to being recorded. And now I am happy to introduce Megan Clifford, Argonne's Associate Lab Director for Science and Technology Partnerships and Outreach.
Good morning and welcome to the opening session of the 2021 Intellectual Property Management Seminar Series. The Science and Technology Partnership and Outreach Directorate, or as we call it, SNTPO, and Argonne's Legal Department are co-hosting this series, and we are so excited about the lineup of speakers and topics we have to share with you. Each one-hour session in this series will feature several presenters. They'll offer a range of perspectives on the importance of IP, as well as the management of IP. Some of the topics we'll cover include the critical role IP management plays at DOE and Argonne to achieve our mission, how you know you've invented something, how Argonne researchers have grown programs and their careers through patenting, managing partnerships that involve software, and the top 5 things a researcher needs to know about patents. I'm really looking forward to that one. The talks will focus on real-world examples and information Argonne researchers and others can use to immediately have impact in their work and in their careers. Our first speaker will be Argonne Laboratory Director Paul Kearns. Since becoming Lab Director in 2017, Paul has been a strong advocate for IP management as a means for increasing the impact of Argonne science and technology. He very much supports events like this where we share valuable insights and advice for the benefit of researchers and Argonne as a whole. Paul couldn't be with us live today, but we do have recorded remarks from him on the impacts of our discoveries, the importance of our partnerships, and IP as a powerful tool for getting our science out of the lab and into society. So without further ado, let's turn it over to Paul.
Welcome to the 2021 Intellectual Property Management Seminar Series. Thank you for joining us for this series of talks which emphasize the importance of intellectual property, or IP. I'm Paul Kearns, Director of Argonne National Laboratory. Beginning today and throughout April on what we are calling IP Thursdays, the lab will offer talks on a range of IP-related topics, including the ways in which IP is a powerful tool for maximizing Argonne's impact, how patents improve research, collaborations, and careers, creating communities and driving research collaborations through copyright licensing, and more. Our colleagues at the U.S. Department of Energy have been kind enough to join us today and throughout the series. You will hear from various stakeholders within the Department of Energy on how important IP is to our mission. Also, I think it's worth noting that many of these talks will be given by Argonne researchers who have firsthand experience in managing and leveraging IP in their careers. It's good to see our researchers sharing their knowledge and experiences in a way that benefits all of Argonne.
Good to see our researchers sharing their knowledge
the discoveries
and
and creations
in a way that
we call
benefits all of
intellectual
Argonne.
property
The
stem
right
from
to
the U.S.
benefit from the
Constitution. By allowing us to derive value from our work for a time, society hopes to inspire us to advance human knowledge and improve the world. The end goal is to share our work so others can benefit and build on it. Commercialization is a key part of Argonne's scientific mission. It represents an effective way to translate IP from the lab to the marketplace. Once there, your patented or copyrighted ideas can make an impact across the country and around the world. The benefits of our discoveries are truly remarkable. Our innovators have contributed to a wide range of goods and services, from technology protecting against the spread of chemicals and biological materials, to electric vehicle batteries, to environmental cleanup technology. We have had outstanding breakthroughs that have helped and improved society at large. we can continue to do transformative science that impacts markets and spurs the U.S. economy, but only if we properly identify, manage, and leverage the IP that is generated on a regular basis at Argonne. IP is not only important for Argonne, it also is critical for our partners. Collaborations with industry are the foundation of our pioneering leadership. During these collaborations, our partners gain access to our one-of-a-kind facilities that are nowhere else in the world. They avoid the time and expense to create these massively expensive, cutting-edge facilities. Just as important, we provide access to Argonne's collective expertise and intellectual property. The scientific process is difficult. It has a lot of pitfalls, false starts, trials, and tribulations. So once you have successfully cleared those hurdles and invented something that can solve a problem or creates new possibilities, it is critical that you protect it. Thoughtful IP management can bridge the gap between discovery and improving lives. The science and technology that you accelerate through your research drives U.S. prosperity and security. This exceptional impact is why all of us are here at Argonne. Before I close, I would like to recognize the DOE leaders who are providing remarks today. Vanessa Chan is DOE's Chief Commercialization Officer and Director of DOE's Office of Technology Transitions. Sunita Sachapel is Director of DOE's Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Technologies Office within the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy. We thank them for joining us and sharing their perspectives and insights. They help empower our research and maintain our efforts. We appreciate that you are attending today and invite you to join as many of the other events in this series as you possibly can. Our work at Argonne unlocks new science frontiers that secures America's energy future and economic growth. Thank you again. Please enjoy this important series of talks.
Thank you, Paul. Our next speaker is Vanessa Chan, DOE's Chief Commercialization Officer and Director of DOE's Office of Technology Transitions. In this role, Vanessa is responsible for all commercialization activities across DOE, the 17 national laboratories, and DOE's other research and production facilities across the nation. She is an innovator who has worked across a wide range of ecosystems, from academia to Fortune 1000 companies to startups. She has 2 decades of experience helping organizations grow at the interface of technology and business across a diverse set of industries. Vanessa comes to us from the University of Pennsylvania's School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, where she was redesigning how engineers are educated by formally incorporating real-world skills to prepare her students to make an impact when they graduate. These real-world skills include things such as understanding of supply chains and ecosystems, presentation skills, and more. She's a former McKinsey & Company partner, experienced venture board director for Vanguard and United Technologies Corporation, and a former board member at multiple startups. Vanessa earned her PhD in Material Science and Engineering from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and her BSc in Material Science and Engineering from the University of Pennsylvania. Today, Vanessa is going to talk about the importance of IP management to DOE's mission, and she's going to share some examples to illustrate that point. So it is truly my pleasure to now welcome Vanessa Chan. Vanessa, please.
Good morning, and thank you, Megan, and for inviting me to participate in your first edition of the 2021 IP Management Seminar Series. So as Megan mentioned, I'm a fellow engineer, and I have a soft spot for DOE National Labs since my graduate group always made an annual pilgrimage to Brookhaven to use their beamlines. My research was focused on creating ceramic nanostructures from block copolymers, and I really love that I now have a job where I can say that and people actually know what I'm talking about. I'm thrilled to be leading the Office of Technology Transitions, which coincides with your 75th anniversary. You're the eldest child of the 17 national labs, and that's 3/4 of a century of not just unlocking the secrets of the universe, but applying that knowledge to the creation of new technologies that have helped transform the world. For the past several decades, I've been working with companies, helping them drive more impact from their R&D spend. And as such, you can see how I think I've won the lottery with this new job, since now I get to look under the hood of the DOE to see what we can bring to market. What DOE does is nothing short of astounding. From the discovery you do here across the spectrum of science, all the way up the chain to applied R&D and novel technologies, the national labs have done more to advance human well-being than most institutions can claim. A huge part of the story is that march from basic science to market adoption, which underscores how that science is critical to improving our lives. As such, it's an honor to open up the seminar series because this is where we can find the nexus of science and impact, taking the day-to-day research that you do and creating patents that can be licensed by external companies, or that can be the basis of a new startup that solves real-world problems. But it's not surprising that Argonne is a hotbed for innovation. Beginning with Chicago Pile 1, you laid the groundwork for the first commercial nuclear reactors. You created xenon tetrafluoride, a compound with a noble gas everyone thought was totally inert. As your mission expanded, so did your renown and accomplishments, as evidenced by your 9 Nobel Prizes. The most recent to Frances Arnold for her work in directed evolution advances our ability to build enzymes that support critical goals like new biofuels to reduce our carbon footprint. And in lockstep with this 3/4 of a century-long record of achievement are breakthroughs and accomplishments that have or will change people's lives. The Advanced Photon Source continues to redefine frontiers in fields like medicine, where researchers are combining X-ray sensitive nanoparticles to simulate neurons in the brain, with the potential to treat diseases like epilepsy and Parkinson's. You launched the nation's first lithium-ion battery recycling center, ReCell, focused on the recovery process, supporting the possibility of a circular electric vehicle life cycle. And you will help usher America into the exascale era, when Aurora comes online, opening new possibilities in materials, cancer treatment, and cosmology. I'm excited to be working closely with Paul and Megan because at OTT there are 3 priority areas for us. First is ways to help labs create more deployable R&D, which means getting market insight a lot earlier, even in the earliest stage, to help inform the work that you do so that work can make it to the marketplace. Second, catalyzing regional innovation hubs with national labs and nucleus. This is one which is especially prevalent for Argonne and the vision that Paul has on Chicagoland. In fact, this week is definitely Argonne National Lab Week since I had the honor of helping to launch Duality, the quantum accelerator where you are a founding partner. Third, supporting the work needed for DOE to have an impact in industry verticals which will help shape the climate agenda, such as energy storage or grid modernization, which requires activating the ecosystem around these verticals and taking the IP developed in labs to market. Which ties us into why we're here today, the importance of IP. I know I'm preaching a bit to the choir since anyone attending the seminar must already believe in IP, but those of you who are staying on the fence about it, it is the only way that your work can have an impact in the real world. Okay, I know that may seem a bit extreme, but in order for you to commercialize your work, i.e. have it be translated to a real world application, there's a need for a company, either one that you form or one that already exists, to take your technology and aim it to a real-world application. To do that, there has to be a vehicle through which a technology transition can occur, and that vehicle is IP. I know that may seem counterintuitive, that a vehicle that offers protection on your invention is a vehicle that leads to commercial impact, but stick with me for a minute. The reason why patents were invented in the first place was to drive public disclosure, so that others could build off of your invention. In return for this public disclosure, you get protection by the US government, and for a certain period of time, you have exclusivity around your invention. By creating IP, Megan and her team can then facilitate tech transfers, namely transferring that IP out the door by licensing it to external companies or helping you form a startup based on the IP. So without that vehicle, without IP, we actually don't have a mechanism by which to do tech transfer. IP is also a way for industry to find the work that you're doing. Before someone can file a patent, they need to do a prior art search. In other words, see what other patents have been filed, which may be of similar nature. So by filing a patent, you are driving awareness to the work you are doing to companies that are filing IP themselves. We also are facilitating this at OTT, where we have a tool called the Lab Partnering Service. LPS houses tens of thousands of invention disclosures and patents across all 17 national labs. As a former university professor, I'm going to try to make this a little bit interactive by having you type in the chat, of the patents that we have, how many do you think belong to Argonne National Lab? See if people are able to type in the chat. Of the tens of thousands, how many patents do you think belong to Argonne? I'm not sure if the chat function is working. In case it's not, and you have the number in your head, the answer is 1,225, which translates to about 0.75 patents per researcher at Argonne. As such, I think it's important that you add to this database and to this portfolio. and showcase the work that you are doing. One of the things that we do at OTT is to radiate your incredible stories to find partners who can translate that technology to solutions. As such, people can find the work you are doing through LPS, which makes it easier to facilitate the DOE and her labs working together with external companies. That's what tech transitions means to us, making sure all the science has a real-world impact. Real-world impact that includes developing and commercializing technologies that can provide jobs, ensure social justice, and arm us with new tools in the critical fight against climate change. I've spent the last 25 years looking to drive impact from technology, and filing patents is your way of sharing how you've invented something and giving Argonne National Lab a vehicle by which we can transfer that technology to the external system through licensing. Once you file the patent, there are other things that you can do to drive towards commercialization. I'm going to do a shameless plug for an OTC program that I'm really passionate about, which is Energy Icor. This program is an entrepreneurial bootcamp, teaming you up with instructors who will help you not only consider the commercial possibilities of your research, but provide you with the skills to determine possible first markets, meet with potential customers, and drumroll, protect your IP. We love this program because we know it works. In the first 10 cohorts, 111 teams conducted 7,000 customer discovery interviews, executed on 60 plus IP licenses, launched 12 new businesses, and brought in over $80 million in post-program funding to bring their inventions to life. Argonne gets the gold star because they've participated in all cohorts, all 12 of them, and you've had 14 teams and 30 researchers participate, and we hope to have more. And if you're an Icor veteran, tell your friends. One of our prime directives to help you envision the possibility in your science mission and equipping you with the tools to do that, and applications for our 13th cohort open at the beginning of June. I actually am an inventor myself and have 3 patents. One for my PhD that is on creating ceramic nanostructures, and 2 on a consumer product I invented. I know from my own experience as an inventor, when that light bulb goes off in your mind and you realize that you are the first person in the entire world to think about something, which is the basis of an invention, it's an incredible feeling. Once you realize that, the next step is to patent. I know many folks who work in national labs love it because of their love for research and never want to leave the labs to start or run a company to bring their technology to market. And that is great. Everyone should stick to their passion. However, you're not the person who actually needs to translate the technology. There's entire ecosystems out there, from startups to huge private companies, who would love to take the inventions coming out of your mind and bring them to market for you. But to do that, you have to take the first step and file a patent so that Megan and her team can then bring your invention to them to commercialize. So with that, I hope I've inspired you to think about the importance of IP, because all of us want to make a difference in the world. And filing IP is a critical mechanism for us to do that. And with that, I'll hand the virtual mic back to Megan. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Vanessa. That was terrific. We really appreciate you joining us today and sharing your story and your expertise. So thank you again. Our next speaker is Dimitrios Papageorgopoulos. He's the program manager for fuel cells within DOE's Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Technologies Office. Dimitrios has served in this role since 2009, focusing on applied research, development, and innovation to advance fuel cells for transportation and other diverse applications. The work of Dimitrios and his team helps enable energy security, resiliency, and a strong domestic economy in emerging technologies. Prior to joining DOE, Dimitrios was head of catalyst development for CMR fuel cells. Before he joined that company, he was a scientist at major federal research centers in the Netherlands and Switzerland. He holds a PhD in chemistry from Cambridge University and a master's degree in surface and interface science from the University of Liverpool. Dimitrios couldn't be with us live today, but he did record remarks in which he shares the perspective of a DOE program manager on IP management. So now I'll send it over to Dimitrios.
Hello, everyone. I am Dimitrios Papageorgopoulos. I'm the program manager for Fuel Cell Technologies in the Hydrogen Fuel Cell Technologies Office. Dr. Sunita Satyapal unfortunately was not able to join this time, but she does send her regards and is greatly supportive of the work at Argonne National Laboratory that's pushing the boundaries in scientific research and supporting American innovation. I would also like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to attend the seminar series and provide some brief remarks on the impact of inventions and discoveries as they apply to our R&D program. The main focus of the Hydrogen Fuel Cell Technologies Office in the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy is to support research and applied research and development with the goal to enable commercialization of the developed technologies. In terms of our key priorities, we are focusing on the production of low-cost hydrogen through the development of electrolyzers, needing to reduce the cost by 3 to 5 times in terms of capex. On the fuel cell side, we're focusing on heavy-duty applications, such as trucks, for instance. We need for that purpose to increase the durability of fuel cells fivefold to about 1 million miles for a truck to be commercially competitive, and also at the same time reduce the cost by 2 to 3 times. And the third key priority is to enable the scale for the production utilization of hydrogen. Such, we are looking at end-use applications, industrial applications, such as the production of ammonia, heavy-duty transport, and energy storage, which would include offshore wind, as well as solar. In terms of how we do that, we have an applied R&D and D program, so we're looking at research, development, demonstration. And what's a unique approach from our part is to be able to look at research and development innovation and utilize the unique capabilities that exist in our national lab network and promote cross-cutting collaboration. In terms of the consortia that we formed, the 2 newer ones are the Million Mile Fuel Cell Truck Consortium and also H2New, focusing on fuel cells for heavy-duty applications, and the production of hydrogen, respectively. Other consortia, we have the Center for Hydrogen Safety, HyBlend, and HMAT. We are looking, though, not only at developing these technologies, but also trying to commercialize them. And in that effect, one of the key questions is, what are we doing to move the needle on innovation and market uptake? What I really want to highlight are the 1,100 patents in hydrogen and fuel cell technologies through our office's funding. And these have played a key role in being able to be commercialized by private industry. 35% of these patents originate from the national labs, which shows the importance of the work that you do. And we have a multitude of technologies that, as I mentioned, commercialized by the private industry, either now or with the potential to be commercialized in the next 3 to 5 years. What is the market uptake? We have key wins in certain application areas for hydrogen and fuel cell technologies. We have demonstrated these technologies, and they have been taken over by industry. And one area that's really a key win for us has been the area of forklifts, where we've invested in approximately 700 forklifts and ended up with currently having more than 40,000 forklifts funded and supported by industry and key companies out there. As you know, we do emphasize the development and protection of intellectual property. And we also try to push the boundaries for researchers out in the national lab network, to give them opportunity not only to develop and use their expertise and apply innovation to develop a technology, but also to be able to commercialize that. Examples of that on the DOE side, for instance, and you probably are aware of these, and there are quite a few. I'm just going to focus on Just a couple of key examples in the brief time that I have. For instance, Energy Icor, that is an effort that pairs lab researchers with industry mentors. The idea of Energy Icor is that it is an intensive 2-month training program where the researchers define value proposition, they develop market pathways, among other things, for their developed technologies. Another one, which HFDO is greatly involved, is also the Technology Commercialization Fund, or TCF as it's known, which has a goal to increase the number of energy technologies at the labs that graduate to commercial development. And that is a really important aspect. Again, I know I've overemphasized it probably in these brief remarks, that will enable and will expedite the market competitiveness for all technologies, including hydrogen and fuel cell technologies. Another one, though, is that HFDO is also developing and implementing approaches to accelerate the commercialization of cutting-edge lab-demonstrated technologies, materials, and components. We believe that these innovations can create a strong competitive edge for industry out there and support the domestic supply chain as well as the domestic industry and retain U.S. leadership. One of these examples is the Linnovator program, Linnovator standing for Lab Innovator, which is a child of HFDO's tech-to-market efforts. So this is a program to enable robust domestic hydrogen fuel cell technologies industry, and its I think uniqueness lies in the fact that we encourage the collaboration between the labs and the technologies they've developed by assembling bundles of unique state-of-the-art IP. And the benefit for industry and the partner that comes in is to allow them to de-risk their investment. So we have a lab demonstrated state-of-the-art technology, and how do you push it beyond labs, and how do you utilize the IP that's developed at the different labs? We want to bring in for Linnovator, we want to bring in a partner that's going to fund the labs. We're going to cover half of that cost in order to be able to push the technology beyond the lab demonstration to demonstrate a minimum viable product for an application. And the first one that we've done, the pilot series, as an example that I have on the screen here, is a bundle of catalyst and membrane electrode assembly technology developed at Brookhaven and Los Alamos, respectively. And the partner in this case is Advent. And this is the work that's just been kicked off. So hopefully we'll see encouraging developments in the near future. With that, I would like to thank you for your time. And again, I would like to convey Dr. Sunita Satyapal's regards. And the only thing I can say to everyone is keep up the good work. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Dimitrios. And you heard Dimitrios also mention the Energy Icor program as well as the Technology Commercialization Fund. If you'd like more information on either of those, please reach out to SNTPO. You can reach us at partners@anl.gov. So next up, we have Supratik Guha. Supratik is a senior advisor at Argonne, leading the lab's microelectronics and quantum information science strategic efforts. He is also a professor at the Pritzker School of Molecular Engineering at the University of Chicago. In addition, he is the Chief Technology Officer for QNex, a DOE National Quantum Center led by Argonne. Before joining Argonne and the University of Chicago in 2015, Supratik spent 20 years at IBM Research. He received his PhD in materials science from the University of Southern California. Via recorded remarks, Supratik will discuss the importance of IP to our partners in QNex. Take it away.
Hi, I'm Supratik Guha, and today I'll give you some of my brief thoughts on the role of intellectual property in science and technology research, particularly in the context of a new and emerging field, quantum information sciences, and within a national lab perspective, given that we have a large Department of Energy quantum technology research center that has begun called QNext. If we look at the current day, I think you'd all agree that our lives today have been deeply influenced by computing and communications technologies and their combinations. Now, the path to this has taken decades, beginning from unstructured curiosity-driven science to pre-competitive technology, to then process and system integration and manufacturing, and then finally things that manufacturing people do, which is like looking at yield and price and volume scaling. And we can anticipate a similar path to be followed for the quantum information sciences and technology. Now, what's the difference here? So if we look back again at semiconductors and communication technologies, the fundamental science on this was done roughly around the 1960s and onwards, right? And then the critical piece here, transitioning this basic science into technology, the early stage of it, was done by companies such as Bell Laboratories, IBM, Philips, and a host of other organizations, companies basically. Their scientists, many of them, could move seamlessly between the worlds of academia and technology. Now today that piece does not exist. Business models, the cost of research, etc. have prohibited that. So today you have university and national labs kind of focused on basic research, and you have companies focused on product integration. Okay. There are many companies that are great on product integration, companies like Amazon, Google, Apple, etc. But not too many companies are investing in the seed corn that translates basic science to technology. This is a long game. And it's difficult because the average investor in a company invests for about 18 months, right? And so companies need to play to that short time scale. So who can do this work? And this is where the national labs come in. It is my belief that the only places today that have the resources and wherewithal and technical chops for these are the national labs. This is, I feel, the opportunity for us in the next 10 to 15 years. This is one of the big reasons QNext, the Department of Energy funded Quantum Research Institute, began and is centered at Argonne. And this is the opportunity for quantum information technologies going forward. But to turn basic science to technology, we can't just publish, which is what we sometimes tend to do. Papers are great. They enable academic viability, they promote basic research, and of course we should continue publishing. But if we wish to be the winds that blow into technology sales, then we have to recognize that patents and intellectual property are critically important. And I cannot emphasize that enough. Intellectual property is the currency of R&D for technology, not papers. And if we wish to make an impact, it is critical to maintain intellectual property. Now, keeping US competitiveness alive in emerging technologies such as quantum also means that national laboratories need to have more intellectual property. We can complain that US companies give away their technology to international competitors, weakening the US position. But one way to stem this is to have publicly funded institutions like the national labs hold IP on key technologies. Batteries, for instance, are an example where Argonne has done this successfully. And finally, of course, what's in it for the scientist? I came from industry. I was there for over 20 years. If I had a strong patent in industry, my company made most of the money, made the big money, right? This is not the case for the national lab scientist. The financial incentives through royalty can be enormous. And so people don't often recognize the benefit one has in this regards in the national lab. So the advice that I would offer to young scientists in national labs is, look, define your own identity. Right? Don't try to be a professor. You're not. You're in a different environment, not academia. So take advantage of this. This is why Argonne leads QNext. And this area, quantum information technology, is a major opportunity over the next 10 to 15 years for a national lab to put its technological footprint. You have the opportunity to change technology, really. Right? These kinds of opportunities don't come around that often. And the highs that you can get from this, of getting something that you've done actually be put in a product, are, at least in my mind, much more than the highs you can get from publishing. And of course, with IP, if money is important to you, you can also make a lot of money. Thank you.
Thank you, Supratik. Very inspiring. As the final piece of our session today, I'll be talking about the importance of IP to Argonne's partnerships with industry and the impact the lab and its industry partners have been able to make through the collaborations. But before I get into talking about some of our current partnerships, I wanted to point out Argonne's history of impactful collaborations with U.S. industry, and it dates back to just about our beginning, to the early 1950s. Argonne and Westinghouse Electric Corporation designed and built the propulsion system for the first nuclear-powered submarine, the USS Nautilus. A vessel, when it was launched in January 1953, instantly transformed worldwide submarine and anti-submarine tactics. Traveling at up to 20 knots, Nautilus could cover 50,000 miles without refueling, allowing it to remain submerged for weeks. In 1958, it became the first submarine to complete a submerged transit of the North Pole. Now flash forward to 2021, and as we speak, Argonne IP is making a broad impact on society. Technologies and processes invented by Argonne researchers are powering GM's Chevy Bolt, a leader in the electric vehicle market, providing radioisotopes that offer enhanced cancer treatment, and accelerating the development and scale-up of new materials that are critical to the global competitiveness of U.S. manufacturers. Not to be outdone, software developed by Argonne researchers is keeping riders in several major metropolitan transportation systems across the U.S., keeping those riders safer from chemical and biological attacks. We're also helping U.S. manufacturers Caterpillar and Cummins design and produce engines more efficiently and cost-effectively. And finally, making U.S. nuclear power plants more efficient and safe. These are just a few examples of the impact Argonne IP has made and continues to make. We could go beyond our time here today, citing examples past and present. It's really a credit to you, Argonne scientists and engineers, who are not only pushing boundaries in their fields of research, but also ensuring that they're identifying and managing IP that emerges from that work. This in turn enables that IP to get out of the lab and into the market, where it can be applied at scale and make maximum impact. But what if Argonne researchers who conducted the research that generated that IP didn't know that they had invented something important? Or what if, because of excitement to share the results of their research with the scientific community, they published a paper where they had filed a patent or patents on the intellectual property? Would those pivotal discoveries be making the same impact in the world? They very likely no. Let's go back to the example I mentioned of Argonne's technology helping power GM's Chevy Bolt. In the early 2000s, Argonne researchers developed the nickel manganese cobalt, or NMC, blended cathode structure for lithium-ion batteries. The development of NMC represented a major leap in lithium-ion battery technology from early cathode chemistries. NMC offers the longest lasting energy available in the smallest, lightest package, a 50 to 100% increase in energy storage capacity over conventional cathode material. Further, its unique lithium and manganese-rich mixed metal oxide combination extends the operating time between charges, increases the calendar life, and improves the inherent safety of lithium-ion cells. This, of course, has profound implications for everything from electric vehicles to renewables to personal electronics. The Argonne inventors were savvy enough to recognize what they had achieved, and in close collaboration with Argonne's legal department, SNTPO, and DOE, Argonne secured multiple important and valuable patents related to NMC. Building that portfolio of IP was critical because as a government laboratory, Argonne is not able to take an invention and manufacture and distribute it. In order for the NMC technology to make a real impact in the world, we needed to partner with companies that could include that technology in their products. NMC has been licensed to GM, BASF Corporation, LG Chem, and Toyota America. It has become a dominant focus for cathode material development in the market. And in 2017, Mike Fichenko, then director of the battery materials for BASF, said the following: NMC has been a game changer in the industry. People are using this Argonne technology without even knowing it. And NMC has also been a job creator in the US. In 2010, Toyota America began construction on a 70 million lithium-ion cathode materials plant in Battle Creek, Michigan. A 24 million phase 2 expansion of the plant was completed in 2015. The plant, which employs more than 100 workers, manufactures multiple cathode materials, but chiefly NMC. In 2012, BASF opened a 70,000 square foot plant in Elyria, Ohio, specifically to produce NMC-based products. LG Chem Michigan, a wholly owned subsidiary of LG Chem, manufactures lithium-ion cells for the Chevy Bolt at its production facility in Holland, Michigan. The plant employs more than 400 people. All in all, it's a strong example of the power of intellectual property and the importance of IP management. Had the inventors, Argonne, and DOE not properly protected the IP related to NMC, none of this would have been possible. Thank you for your attention as I shared the importance of IP to our mission, and thank you for joining us today for the first of 4 IP Thursdays throughout April. I would like to thank our speakers for sharing their valuable perspectives, and we look forward to seeing you at other IP Thursdays throughout April. The next one is on April 15th, and will focus on how patents improve research, collaborations, and careers. For info and to register, search IP Thursdays on My Argonne. Thank you again, and have a great rest of your day.